Today, I'm talking about the highly controversial F word with MS. That's right. When I get MS and when I just want, but, you thought the F word is, you're funny. No, I mean fatigue. I mean, yes, MS definitely encapsulates the other F word, or the other F word definitely encapsulates MS. It doesn't just affect me, it affects the family, it affects the community, it affects everybody. My fatigue seems to be everybody's problem. But let's talk about what my fatigue has taught me over the last 5 years. Hi everybody, I'm Cliff, and this is Life with MS. Let's get started. I have learned a lot about MS fatigue, and for as frustrating as it can be, it has taught me a lot about myself and fatigue in general. I'm going to share these experiences with you, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician, I'm just a dude on YouTube who has MS who likes to share his experiences because I feel like when we share, we care, and we win. So I think of all my symptoms that my MS brings me every Christmas, the one that's the most annoying and the one that constantly drags me down and just has me in fear that it's going to show up at anytime it wants to, but also probably one that I understand the best at this point, has got to be the fatigue. But let's not forget all the other wonderful symptoms, which include and are not limited to, but I wrote these down. Here we go. Numbness, memory loss, vision, loss of taste. Now that's a new one. That one showed up a couple of weeks ago. I don't even get that. It came back. Bizarre. Ooh, super constipation. That one is so awesome. I love that one, especially on long bike rides. Total winner, right? And of course, peeing my pants. Who doesn't love that? That's always a fun little surprise. It's even better when it's not a surprise. It's like you know it's going to happen, but you don't know when it's going to happen. So you try to prepare for it, but you can't really prepare for it. So bam, whammo, next thing you know, you've pissed your pants. Thanks, MS. And last, but of course not least, I have to say it again because it's just amazing, the fatigue. The fatigue has got to be the most prevalent and also the most annoying. But here's what I've learned. See, the fatigue one is the one I think I like to try to ignore, but I can't. Of all the symptoms I like to try to ignore, even if it's only temporary, the one that I can't really ignore and the one that most people can see almost instantly is the fatigue. Because it affects everything. And my wife says I get the 1,000-yard stare when it sets in. It's like my eyes kind of just do their own thing and I don't have any idea what's going on around me. I'm just trying to get through the moment. Now, the one thing that puzzles me about this fatigue thing is I have friends that have MS. I ride bikes with them. Fatigue is not an issue for them. They have other things like chronic headaches and aches and pains, but they seem to just be doing fine without fatigue. But then I have other friends that have fatigue like I do, where it's just completely bonkers and very difficult for them to just get through the day. What do I do about the fatigue? Now, there are 2 prescriptions on the market that I get from my neurologist. Both of them are really good at helping with the fatigue temporarily. Both of them, if I use them, I have to go off of and back on because my body adjusts to them and they eventually don't do anything. So I usually reserve those for the summertime when the heat is just killing me and the fatigue is awful and I can hardly get out of bed. And they make me almost somewhat normal, but they don't act alone. There's a lot that goes with them. I have to watch my diet. I have to make sure I'm getting enough exercise. I have to make sure I'm drinking enough, and I have to make sure I'm sleeping enough. Those are all like components that combined with the prescription stuff to help. I don't like the prescription stuff. It makes me very jittery. I'm extremely productive on it for short terms, but I also crash on it really hard. So I try to use it as little as possible and just focus on the other elements I talked about. That's what works for me. Of course, may not work for everybody, but it works for me. The other thing with the prescription stuff is I have to pee a lot with it, which is really annoying in the middle of the night, and it's very difficult to get to sleep. And I take minute doses of this stuff. It is not the recommended dose for my MS. I would never do the recommended dose because I tried it a couple times and it would just keep me up all night long. This only keeps me up half the night. So again, I try to keep it at a minimum. Wow, my hands move a lot, don't they? Ooh. So without further ado, let's jump into the 5 things I have learned from my fatigue that I try to keep front of mind while I'm going through it. These are not in order of importance. They're the top 5 most important things I've learned. For me, again, just my experience. Number 5. Know when to tap out, think about tomorrow. So if you saw one of my recent videos about the bicycle ride for raising money for MS, you may have noticed that in the beginning of the video, I emphasized my need to understand when my body's had too much and I need to tap out. Now this is, again, a new behavior for me. I like to push through whatever I can, but the fatigue says no, and I have to tap out before I either hurt myself or I get myself in a situation that leaves me with very few choices. Both of those are bad. So number 5, know when to tap out. Number 4, setting realistic expectations for myself. So I didn't think for a minute that I was going to go do that bicycle ride on the 100-mile course. I used to be able to do the 100-mile course, but I'm more realistic with myself now. I'm not who I used to be. I have less hair, and I have MS slightly worse than I used to, or quite a bit worse than I used to. So I picked a shorter route, and therefore I was able to finish the route. And unexpectedly, it was a very hot day, unusual for the area at that time of year. And had I chose the longer route and it was hot, it would have been horrible. As it was, I went the shorter route, and it still felt like I rode 100 miles because it was really hot that day. Be realistic with my abilities at this point. Now, I like to push myself just a little bit, but I'm not going to push myself way out of my comfort zone, because I want to experience growth, but I don't want to experience trauma. Does that make sense? Number 3, embrace the moment, but also understand the moment. Now, I like to live in the moment when I'm having a good time, but I also have to remind myself that MS is a very serious situation, and it can put me in situations I don't have much control over. And that is a huge problem. So I have to remind myself that the consequences are very realistic if I ignore what my MS is trying to tell me, fatigue being one of them. It's like, dude, you're tired, you need to go rest. And if my brain's like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm just going to push through this. I can't do that anymore. I have to say, okay, you're right. I'm going to go rest, and I'll come back and hit this tomorrow. Or I'll come back and finish it up later on this afternoon. Or I might not come back at all. Maybe it was too much for me. But I have to be in the moment and understand what my body is trying to tell me. And it's a very different message from what it used to be, where it was like, you can't be stopped. And now it's like, you need to stop. And you need to listen, or you're going to pay for it. Number 2, and this is closely related to the rest of the tips, listen to what my body is trying to tell me. AKA, don't climb ladders when you're tired. Don't really climb ladders when you have bad sense of balance to begin with, if it's totally not necessary. It's like my MS is warning me, but it also doesn't care if I seriously screw myself up because I decided to totally ignore its warnings. So number 2, listen to my body. It has a lot to say, and sometimes I can choose to ignore it and get away with it. Other times, especially with my fatigue, it doesn't deal with being ignored well. It's like that kid that's going to pull on your pant leg the whole time you're talking to somebody you really need to talk to, and they're like, Dad, 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 hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Can we go? 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 I'm hungry, thirsty. Yeah, not that I have any experience with that. Okay, let's move on. Number 1, know where to spend my energy. Prioritize important stuff, ignore stupid stuff. Now, there is some stuff I can't ignore that I think is stupid. Paying bills. Don't really like paying bills, but it requires energy, thought, processing, all that stuff. I put a day away to do that, and I get through it, and I just have to suck it up and get it done. But I don't let it interfere the days that I need to do the things I need to do to stay healthy, like exercising and hanging out with my family. Another thing I do is if people want to go out and hang out, I know this is going to sound very rigid, but if people want to go out and hang out, or I have a meeting of some sort, I set a hard stop before I ever go. Like, I let them know if I said 10:30, I'm out of there at 10:30, because if I let it run over 30 minutes, then that affects everything. And the next thing I know, I'm out of energy before I made it to the end of the day. So energy management is huge. Fatigue says you only have so much in this battery. Where are you going to spend it? And I say, here, 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 and here, and I'm not going to go above here or there, because if I do, then I'm going to drain this tank and I lose. My fatigue doesn't care. It'll be back the next day. I care because I want to be back and feeling good enough with a recharged battery to do something the next day. And that means prioritizing my energy use and being efficient. And on that topic, another thing that's like insanely energy draining for me is grocery shopping. I don't know what it is, if it's navigating around all the people, walking up and down the aisles, or having to pick out things, or just like stimulus overload. But when I go grocery shopping, when I get home, I am exhausted. And maybe it's a combination of a physical and mental activity that I don't want to do to begin with, but I have to do. It just completely zaps my energy. Maybe it's a mixture of a depressing activity along with a very physical activity. I'm not sure. But what I do to help this is I make sure I know exactly what I'm going to get before I walk into the grocery store. I walk in there, I beeline right to the stuff I need, and I get out before I start blowing tons of time and energy on stuff I just don't need and on a place I don't really want to be to begin with. So prioritize the energy by making a plan. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so now it's your turn. I love the comments people are leaving on these videos. They're so good. And I think a lot of people are learning from them. I'm getting people reaching out to me saying, oh my gosh, I've learned so much from your channel. And it's not just from me, Cliff. It's from people leaving their experiences in the comments below. So do you have any tips about fatigue that maybe someone who has been diagnosed or is looking for answers might be able to check out, do some research on or something? Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional of any type. I'm just looking to share some knowledge and some user tips. Comment below if you have something that really helps you and maybe somebody else can benefit from it. I love the comments, guys. Keep them coming because they're incredible. And I think we're building an effective community here. I get some laughs out of the comments. I also get some really deep moments of thought-provoking situations people have been in. Also, I'm starting to realize that we all have a lot in common. It's just that we're all in a different area. But here, we're all in the same area and we're all sharing. So keep them coming. I love it. Comment below. We're doing it. We're doing it. Also, I was interviewed today by John Strum from Real Talk MS. That episode is going to be out through John's Real Talk podcast or video thing on YouTube at some point. I will let you guys know when that happens. It was a really cool interview. It was about a patient's perspective on the new BTK discoveries. I won't get into that here because it's very deep, but basically there was a major breakthrough in clinical research lately with multiple sclerosis and a different way to treat it. And I will link that and let you guys know when it comes out. Again, I'm Cliff. This is Life with MS. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm out.